What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, division rivals? How you doing, NFL world? Stephen Hyder here with Gate City Sports Channel. And today, I have a guest on. I brought my guy with the Nest Out West, Philly Foothills. We're going to talk a little bit about Gannon's system. We're going to talk about coverages. We're just going to have a generalized conversation of breaking down the different types of coverage because, truth be told, there's some complexity to coverages in the NFL. And a lot of times, people will get really lost up when an announcer's talking about something like what is cover 5, what is cover 7, what's cover 6, what do those things mean? And by the way, I named those particular coverages because they don't really actually exist, but they do. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, guys. They're really just an alteration of a base coverage, so they don't really exist, but they kind of do because there's enough to differentiate them. But they're still really part of a base coverage. So, hey. That's what we're doing today, guys. So what's up, Philly Foothills? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Steve. Hey, thank you for having me on your channel. I really appreciate it. And what's good? What's going on? What's cracking, Eagles fans, Eagles Nation? Thank you guys for joining us on the live stream or on the replay. Either way, you're going to enjoy this, I think, and I hope you get something out of it because I know I am definitely going to have my learning cap on and I got my notepad ready, so I'm definitely ready to get going with this because I'm really excited to learn more about, like you said, the complexity of coverages in the NFL, things like that, the different defenses. So yeah, let's get it going, Steve.
Yeah, so to just start it off and to kind of talk about it, let's just go by some of the numbers and let's talk a minute. So I know you were really asking this a lot, like where certain teams, like what kind of like coverages could we expect the Eagles to run, and a lot of this is difficult to say. But if I asked you right from the jump, if I said, what do you think the majority of teams in the NFL run? What type of coverage would you guess the majority of teams run? What do you think is the dominant coverage?
Cover 2?
No,
that's
not.
That's what I think. Yeah, I mean,
so
cover 2 means 2 safety help. I mean, there's 2 safety help over the top, right?
Exactly. You got it. Exactly. So believe it or not, the most common coverage run in the NFL, and it varies by teams, but there's 2 base coverages, if you will, that normally come out. Teams are, generally speaking, either cover 1, which means you're a man coverage system, or you're cover 3, which means you're a zone coverage system. There is a dividing line. PFF does pretty good work to kind of, they'll go through and they kind of divide up the teams by like who plays the most man, who plays the most zone. If you give me a couple seconds, I can actually pull that up for you from 2020, but I just need to go to team. I got to divide it up by team, and then I got to go by coverage and stuff like that. But we can go over and I can talk for a second if you guys want me to about like what happened from like by position, like who or like by team, like what happened in terms of like who ran the most coverages, between man and zone and stuff like that. Guys, let me see what I can't pull up here from them because they're a little difficult to pull up on their coverage. They're giving more of the coverage grades, and that's not exactly what I want. So let me go by position.
And man obviously means right there, it's man-on-man coverage. Like a certain defender has a certain offensive player that he is covering, right? And then zone means that they're covering a certain area of the field each, correct?
Exactly. Zone means that you're dropping into your basically when people say zone, most of the time what zone coverage means, and there's different techniques to it. But when you do a zone coverage, basically you're reading the quarterback. You're falling back into a particular spot, a zone, but you're reading the quarterback. When you're playing man, you're reading your man, the man you're covering. So a lot of times you can tell man coverage because if you see man coverage, you probably see the backside of the defender, and the whole goal is to stay what's called you're trying to stay in the hip pocket, right? What they call in phase with the wide receiver. So you want to stay in the hip pocket of the wide receiver when you're doing that. So I'm going to go real quick, and I'm just going to pull up total snap count. And right from the jump, if I were to ask you, who do you think played the most man coverage snaps in the NFL, who would you guess? Kind of shocked me. I didn't think of this team to be man just because I know where their coach comes from. I know the coaching tree, the branch.
Yeah. I'm going to say Tampa.
Nope. So Xavier Howard played the most snaps of any corner in man coverage, 315. Okay. Patrick Peterson with Arizona was next. What surprised me is Xavier Howard, that's Miami. Miami's coach is from the Belichick tree. Belichick does not shy away from man coverage, but he's a little bit more mixed in coverages. But let me ask you a question. If I said, in your opinion, and we're just talking opinions before we jump into some stuff here.
Yeah.
In your opinion, if I asked you, who in the world do you think is the best coverage corner in the NFL? Who would you say? Who do you think is like the prototypical to do like number one clear cut? You know, this guy is as close as we've got in the league right now to being a true lockdown corner. Who would you guess?
I mean, to me,
it's opinionated.
Yeah, to me, especially for this, you know, the interceptions that he's put up over the last few years, it would be the guy who you just mentioned, Xavier Howard.
That's Howard, which has run a lot of man coverage. He's run a ton of man coverage. For me, in terms of the athletic profile of the player, their production on the field, and what I know they can do when they're on their game, I don't think there's anyone quite as good. It would be Jalen Ramsey. Here's the thing. Where do you think Jalen Ramsey ranks when it comes to man coverage?
I'd say he's probably right around 10 to 12.
10?
Yeah.
Not even in the top 100. 102 overall, 81 snaps on the year in man coverage. So right away, what I wanted this to lead us into, right, is when you talk about man coverage corners versus zone coverage corners, I do think that there are physical differences between those two, right? There are some guys who are so good that they can play both. But when you talk about a man coverage corner, what I want to see is I want to see a guy that can match and mirror. So when I say match and mirror, guys, just think of it like if the receiver goes left, I want him to go left with him. I want him to stick in the hip pocket. He goes right, he's in the hip pocket, right? That's what it means to match and mirror. But when I think of a zone corner, I'm thinking about a corner that has ideal height. They have good arm reach. So it's not good enough just to be 6'1", 6'2". You need to have 32-inch or longer reach in your arms. Because if you're short-armed in a zone system, it becomes a little bit easier to pick you apart as a quarterback, right? And that's the problem with zone coverage systems, right? Is that a good enough quarterback without pressure in his face is eventually going to eat you alive, right? Over time, he's going to eventually eat you alive.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, when you look at zone coverages and you look at man coverages, there's some inherent disadvantages here. You know, zone coverage, if you got guys that have good size to them that can stand up and play, can get physical, can defend like thirds or quarters of the field, things like that, you're going to be successful, right? But you got to be careful of manipulation, right? High and lowing, you know, defensive backs trying to attack that flat defender, doing things like that to work, you know, to try to work their way in on you. When you go to man coverage system, now you're talking about physical gifts of speed. You don't necessarily have to have the longer reach. It's more so about the way you can sink and move your hips. It's about how fluid you are in your movements more than anything, right? Because you're not even playing the ball per se. A lot of times in a heavy man coverage system, you're not going to really turn and locate the ball unless you're really good at playing the ball in the air and really reading when that receiver looks to know you need to turn, you need to position, you need to find and locate. It's a really hard to have. It's why a lot of man coverage corners don't have a lot of interceptions, right? The problem is those dudes are hard to find in the league. There's not a lot of guys that can go out there for 20 plus snaps a game and play man coverage like that without getting beat quite a bit. Like eventually they kind of catch up to you. So, you know, it's hard. You have to have a certain skill set, especially if you're going to do, you know, heavy reps. So what I want to do, man, is I want to open up to a play and I want you to tell me, now that we talked about cover, we've talked about cover 1 and we've talked about cover 3. I want to open up a play and I want you to see. I want you to tell me, like, do you see cover 1 or do you see cover 3? And just like tell me, like, physically, like, what are your eyes seeing when I show you the play? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's this play here. Yeah, it should be this play here. All right, I'm going to pause this so that way I can bring you in on it. All right, let me rewind it back for you a little bit because it'll start ticking its way away if I'm not careful. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen so everybody in the chat can see it as well. And then just kind of, you know, you guys can talk amongst yourself, tell everybody what you're seeing. Some of you guys have played corner. You'll know it as soon as you see it. Just look for the telltale signs, guys. So I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, guys. I got to get to the physical process of sharing the screen, which takes time. Guys, I can't monetize this because you can take a wild guess. Me showing video footage, they're going to strike me for this. But I think it's important for you guys to see it and understand what to look for. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and maximize the screen for a second. Hopefully that'll give you guys where you guys can kind of see a little better. All right. You guys ready? I'm going to take it all the way back. All right. Everybody can see the screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Foothills?
Yeah, it looks
all
good.
Right, here we go. All right, watch your secondary. You see your safety, look at your corners. All right, find your nickel.
Yep.
What do you see?
I see cover 1.
Very good. Very good. Why do you say that's cover 1?
Because, well, pre-snap. To me, pre-snap, it looked to me like they're lining up on a man, like especially on the receivers to the outside. So, yeah, to me, it definitely looked like it was man coverage.
Yeah. So it gets kind of tricky, right? Because there are techniques. So one thing you have to understand is like when you're playing certain coverage schemes, like you could be in a zone system unless someone comes into your zone in a 10-yard radius. Then you pick that person up and you carry them man. So there are little subtle things, but yes, I would agree that given the look I saw from the safety, given where I saw the safety go with the help, and given what I saw from the rest of the corners on the team, that would indicate to me that's a clear example of cover 1, right? So let's take a look at another play. Yeah. Let's just see, tell me like what you see. All right. Sorry, man. I got to go in here again. I got to back out and pull it back up again. Guys, if you want to know how the heck I'm pulling the coaches film, it's just NFL Game Pass. Guys, I don't have a link or anything to give you a discount code. I'm sorry. I'll have to reach out to them and see if they don't want to maybe sponsor something and give you guys a link to get some money off of this eventually. We'll try. I mean,
and
I ain't got my hopes up too high.
It definitely didn't want to, demonetize you for this live stream for sure.
It's all good, man.
That wasn't the goal at all. You definitely.
No, it's all good. You're not the only person who's asking me to kind of go over this stuff, man. So yeah, it's all good. All right. So I'm going to share the screen again, guys. Go through the whole process again. We're just going to look at it. And you're going to tell me what you see here. All right. And explain to me why you see what you see, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then I'll give you guys a little harder one afterwards. All right. So we'll share screen. We'll go to the Chrome tab. All right. Let's go to the Bengals and the Colts. All right, guys. I'm going to maximize the screen. Hopefully everybody can see it.
I can see it.
Replay it back a little bit, and then we're going to start it. All right, guys. Here it goes. So first quarter again, guys. Look at your corners. Look at your safety. Watch their hips. Look at that. Look at it. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Did you see the hips? Do you see? What do you think that is?
That's got to be more cover 3, right? Because to me it looks like the hips indicating they're reading more of the quarterback.
Philly Fan D, my guy, appreciate the super chat. Let me pull it up real quick. Philly Fan D said, "Appreciate you, Gate. My daily news of the '90s." Yes, sir. Yeah, you're right, man. So. What I see here is I see a bail technique, and a bail technique could be man or zone technically, but I'm just saying, like, given the fact I see single coverage, right? I do see one exception here. I do see one corner that does pick up a man within a 10-yard window and follows him across the field, right? So that's that concept. So that can be confusing because he's leaving that third of the field when he does that. But yeah. I mean, I would say that unless I have, a coach coming out and saying like, no, this is a disguised coverage principle that you're not, it's working because we're confusing you with it, then yeah, I would guess that's cover 3 as well. That has all the telltale signs of being disguised. We're going to play up on you. Then right at the hike, we're going to drop our hips. Right. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to fall back. We're going to bail. We're going to use that bail technique on you. Yeah. Right. I got one more. I'll show you and we'll talk a little bit more. We'll talk about each of these coverage systems and we'll get a little bit about Gannon and what's going to be coming up, right? So let me kind of find where I had this one because I didn't write it down, but I remember looking at it. So it's going to be one of those situations, guys. But, we're going to go over man and we're going to talk a little bit about a zone and stuff like that, guys. But it just really, you just kind of, if you really watch closely, you can really see easily like what kind of coverage system a team's playing. If you really get a feel for like, okay, this quarters means this, cover 3 means this. Cover 1 means this, cover 0 means this, 6 means this, cover 5 and cover 7 really mean this. Like, then I think it becomes much easier at that point to like understand and know exactly what's going on. It's really simple to then look across, see what's going on in the field, and know like, oh, okay, I know exactly what kind of coverage this is. All right, guys, I'm trying to pull this one play up because I want to see it. There's a little disguise to it, and that's what I want to show you guys. I'm trying to find the play again. So no, this isn't the one here yet. Give me 1 second, guys. My bad. I should have written it down. This is why you write stuff down, guys, for all you content creators. Always write it down, even if you don't think you're going to use it, because you never know when you're going to actually use it. And this is one of them situations. All right, I think I found the play. I think we're good to go. Let me see if he falls back. Yep, this is the play. All right. So this one's going to be a little bit harder to identify, guys. All right. So just give you a fair warning. It'll be a slight variance to this one that'll make it just a teeny bit tougher. These aren't, guys, these aren't crazy hard to find, but they're going to be a little bit more difficult than your typical coverage. All right. All right. So let me share it and then we'll go over it. So let me share my screen. We're going to go to the Chrome tab. Go to the Bengals and the Colts. All right. So everybody should be able to see it at this point. I'm going to maximize the screen. And then let me close that part of it out. All right, guys, here we go. So 2nd and 9. I think it's like the second or third possession of the game. Watch this one safety that crept down in the box. Now watch him right at the snap. Watch what he does. See him backing out, guys?
Yeah.
Now look at everybody. Watch that. Look at that boundary corner. This one's not as easy to identify. You guys know what this one is? What do you think it is, Foothills?
Is that quarters defense?
It is zone, and it is quarters. That's what I would call it too. I would call it quarters. Why did you call it quarters?
Because to me, it looked like the way he dropped back there like that at the snap. It looked like the defensive backs were each covering a quarter of the area where the deeper area of the field. The middle to deeper area of the field.
Yeah. So when I first saw this, I thought it was going to be some kind of improvision of cover 6. And then I saw him fall back. And I'm like, okay, now we're either probably in quarters or we're playing cover 2. That looks like quarters to me just because I can see the boundary corner falling back into like a quarter of the field while watching the flats at the same time. So the problem with quarters coverage is that it's very susceptible to getting, the flats really just eating you up.
Right.
Quarters coverage is what I would call like cover 1 and cover 3, depending on the team, is going to be your primary base coverage. And then you'll get some teams like Minnesota ran the most cover 2 last year, and it was right around 20% of their snaps. I want to say it was a little over 22%, I think, of their snaps came out of cover 2, which is a fairly high percentage, right? But a lot of teams, the next thing they'll play, if they're not a cover 2, is they'll play cover 4. Cover 4 meaning quarters of the field. The way you can think of it is it's almost the inverse of cover 3. Cover 3 means 3 deep defenders, 4 underneath defenders. Cover 4 means 4 deep defenders, 3 underneath defenders, right? So you kind of could just kind of look at that and you'll see them pretty quickly, almost. Yeah. Now, we've gone over cover 1. We've gone over cover 3. We've gone over cover 4. Let's talk cover 2 for 1 second, guys. He said sticks. So cover 2. When you see cover 2, what do you normally see?
You see 2 safeties up, over the top.
Exactly. 2 safeties over the top. But even cover 4, you have 2 safeties, right? So over the top. But what do those safeties do that are like generally like just a clear indicator that this is cover 2? What are they going to do in terms of their body positioning on the field and where they're going to traject themselves?
Oh, I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Kind of like this. They're going to kind of get up and over top of everything like that. And they're going to branch out like that. Okay. That's why you'll see, so then you had the variations, right? Now we're going to get into variations. What is the most famous variation of cover 2? Do you know it?
Most
very popular variation. It's very popular in the 90s and the early 2000s.
I'm not off the top of my head. No, I don't.
Right. I'll give you some more clues. It's an NC State coach, former coach who actually did this, and it's named after a football team.
Oh,
a professional team.
Is it the?
I can tell it's right on the tip of your tongue.
The Steel Curtain?
It's the Tampa 2.
Oh, the Tampa
So
2. Yeah.
So the common alteration you'll
I
get
really
to
don't know that.
a cover 2 will be the Tampa 2, which just means your mic is going to drop back into the hash marks, right? Because in a cover 2, you're very susceptible to being middle MOFA, what they call middle of the field open, right? So that, you drop the linebacker back there and it makes the reads a little bit more difficult on the quarterback. So now that we have Tampa 2, we have cover 2. We've covered cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. There's only one other base coverage, and it's cover 0. What does that mean?
That means no. That means you're. I mean, there's no safeties over the top, right?
Man across the board, no safeties at all, right? Normally, pressure package is normally built in with that because you're going to want to speed things up, right? Yeah. All right. So we've covered the 5 base coverages: cover 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Everything else, these next 3 coverages, and these are the only other 3 coverages I know are these 8 coverages, guys. These are all that I've ever came across in my entire life. The next 3 coverages are cover 5, cover 6, cover 7. Most of you probably definitely know cover 6. Some of you are probably going, Gate, what the heck is cover 5? What the heck is cover 7? I'm going to let you on a little secret, guys. There is no such thing as cover 5, cover 6, or cover 7. It's just not. It's really not. It's not a real, like, they're just alterations of base coverages. And some of you might be like, no, there's a cover 6, Gate. No, it's an alteration of cover 3. So basically what this we're talking about now is we're talking about splitting the field. So if I say split field, what does that mean?
That means you're basically drawing a line right down the middle of it. Certain defenders have one side, certain defenders have the other, correct?
In a way, sure. So normally it means that you're going to vary the coverage by that split, right? So one side to the other, right? So in cover 6, can you take a wild guess at what the split is? Take 2 of the coverages, add them together, and you'll get cover 6. Just think about it for a second. Think about it. Which 2 do you think they are?
You're taking 2. You're taking 2. You're taking 2 out.
You're taking 2 coverages, right? So one of those coverages will be run on one side of the field, and the other coverage will be run on the other side of the field. Just think about it. Those equal the number 6. What 2 coverages do you think they are?
Cover 4 and cover 2.
Boom. You got it.
Yeah.
Boom. It's really an alteration of cover 3, but basically what you're doing is you're splitting the field down the side. So instead of playing thirds, you have quarters on one side, and then you have a half on the other side. So you got cover 2 on one side, and you got quarters on the other side of the field. It's a split field responsibility in an alteration of a cover 3, right? So now with cover 3, I can come down, I can protect the flats with that safety, right? So I can bring a safety down, or I can cloud the coverage, right? So I can take my corner, press him up tight, have him tight coverage 10 to 12 yards, and have that safety in a cover 2 playing over top of him on that side, right? Or I can bring my safety down to cover the flats, take that corner, let him play half the field. You get what I'm saying? But the other side of the field, they're playing a pure quarters type coverage. So they got quarters of the field between them, right? Yeah. So it's quarters coverage on one side, it's cover 2 on the other side. That's what cover 6 is. It's not really a thing, but it is a thing. It's weird and kind of hard and complex to explain, but you know what I mean? Like,
to me, I never knew that they did such a thing. That's really cool. To me, that's to me, that would confuse a lot of, especially a lot of younger quarterbacks, younger receivers, things like that. So that's really, really interesting to learn. And that blows my mind that, that they're able to do that. That's, to me, it seems like it's, it's definitely takes a lot of skill and knowledge to be able to make that work and flow together, because it's almost like juggling with knives. You got to be careful what you're working with.
Exactly. So the next coverage I'll go over, and this is one I've never heard expressed defensively. I'd have to ask my guy Jalen, because I know Jalen played some defensive line in high school. So maybe he's heard this. I've never heard a defensive person ever express it this way. I've only heard offensive guys express it this way. Jalen, give me 1 second, because I know you're going to beat me to the punchline. Just give me a second. I know you know the answer to this. What's cover 5? I've only heard offensive guys ever refer to it as cover 5. Defensive guys refer to it as something completely different. What do you think cover 5 is?
Well, I mean, I think it could possibly be, a variation of maybe Tampa 2 on one side and in a zone on the other.
Close. You were so close. You actually said the type of coverage it is. It's a variation of cover 2. It's cover 2 man under. That's all it is. Cover 5 means cover 2 with a man under. So 5 guys are playing a man concept with 2 deep safeties. That's all cover 5 is. I've only heard cover 5 expressed offensively. I've never heard it expressed defensively. I've always heard it defensively expressed as cover 2 man under. It's weird. It's one of these things like it doesn't really exist except for in small circles of people who call it cover 5. It's one of those weird ones, man. All right. The last one is probably the most important one, and it's what we're going to end our topic on today. It's cover 7, and this one is not easy to explain. This one is a beast of an explanation. But let me start off by telling everybody this in the chat. The last 3 Super Bowl winners have one thing in common. What do you think it is?
They've all run variation of cover 7.
There you go. So cover 7. Sorry, let me pull up Mike's super chat, and I'll get into why this is happening. Why cover 7 is making an emergence. So my guy Philly Mike coming in with the 999 super chat. What's good, buddy? He said new content, Gate City. Guess what coverage? First guess Foothills, 2 lifelines, phone a friend, and ask the chat. I won on X, bro. What's the prize if we win? Hey, you know what, Mike? Stick with me. That's a concept. I like the concept, Mike. Right? I like the concept, but I'm going to make it more difficult. These were kind of easy. I'm going to make it a little bit more difficult. I like the concept, though, Mike. I'm in on that, man. I'm in on that, bro.
You.
Cover 7. Okay. As teams go to spread offenses, there has to be an adjustment defensively. And like almost everybody's running spread now. You remember not too long ago, if a team came in, a coach, and started trying to run spread concepts, he got laughed out of the league. It really wasn't that long ago. And then Andy Reid started finding a way of marrying the spread with the West Coast. And nobody's laughing anymore. Now everybody's in scramble mode trying to figure it out.
Right.
Do you know who... I don't know if he invented this. I think it's kind of crazy to say he invented it. I don't think he invented it. But the person who is often looked to as kind of the pioneer or like the guru, if you will, of cover 7. You want to take a guess?
Oh, I'll take a guess. I'll say Dick LeBeau.
Close. Not quite Dick LeBeau, but I like how you went right to defensive mind. So TCU runs it a lot, but that's not the name I normally hear. TCU does run it, though. Nick Saban. It's Nick Saban. It's Alabama. As a matter of fact, guys, if you want to learn everything there is to learn about cover 7, go look up Carl Scott. Carl spells his name with a K. I think he's the defensive back coach. He was at Alabama. He's got a whole thing where he goes over match quarters cover 7 defense. He breaks it down well above anything I can do for you guys in the 30 minutes or so we got left, guys. There's just no way I could break it down the way that Carl Scott did. But Carl Scott, match quarters, cover 7. You look that up on YouTube, guys. You'll learn a lot about cover 7. This brings us to our topic. So Foothills. Why do you think everybody is so infatuated with cover 7 now in Philadelphia?
Because our defensive coordinator is a former defensive back coach?
Exactly. So there was one thing that was said in the press conference, right? That Jonathan Gannon said. He talked about giving players, especially the secondary, a little bit of autonomy, freedom on the field to make adjustments. There's only one real coverage I know of to where the defense has to communicate a lot. That's cover 7. Cover 7 is the coverage, and it's not a real coverage, guys. Just bear with me. For some of y'all start jumping in here on me like, hey, that's not a real thing. Chill. I know. I understand that it's really just cover 4. I get it. It's a variation of cover 4, but it's cover 4 in a split field concept. So although it's using the principles of cover 4, it's splitting the field, and one side of the field can be independent of the other side. So the first thing you'll notice about it is you'll have a strong side and you'll have a weak side of the field. So this is how I try to identify it. And mind you, Foothills, coordinators do a lot of things to confuse you.
Right.
What I look for is when I see cover 7, I'm looking for 7 defenders. I want to see 4 defenders on the strong side and 3 defenders on the weak side. Okay. That normally tells me like, okay, look for cover 7. Doesn't mean it'll be cover 7, but it means if I see that triangle among the 3 players on the weak side of the field, I know immediately, okay, I need to watch this. Something, this looks like cover 7 to me. So, so right now, guys, before we jumped on, I was working with Philly Foothills and I was doing some editing. And this is very rudimentary editing, guys. This is not any kind of reflection of my actual editing skills. This is a hurried up, thrown together thing that we wanted to put up for you guys. I wanted to show you guys something and show you how this looks and explain a little bit of the roles on cover 7, because, if you guys keep hitting me up about cover 7, it's a really difficult thing to explain, and it's really new to the NFL. It really is. So we're going to go into share screen. I'm going to go into my Windows tab, guys, and I'm going to share. Let me see if I can't get, no, that's snapshot. I don't need snapshot. I'm going to see if I can't find a way of pulling up.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, if it's new to the NFL, are there defensive, are there certain, some defensive systems in college that have run this cover 7 that you're speaking of?
Yes. So Texas, not Texas. So TCU, Texas Christian is definitely known for it. They've run it quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the main one, the main culprit you're going to hear, honestly, a lot of times it's going to be, you're going to hear about Nick Saban in Alabama, but it's very prominent now, like in the NFL, guys. So I'm going to try to share want to share Filmora. Hopefully, can you guys see that? Can you see that? No, Foothills.
Right now I just see a black screen, but yeah, I see you moving around the mouse a little bit there.
Let me see if I maximize it. Will that?
There you go. I see X's and O. Yeah, I see it's a little cut off, but I do see.
Okay. So
yeah, definitely.
All right. If you took this, guys, and we split this right down the field, okay, right down the middle, right? So if I cut it right down the middle, I got 3 X's on one side of the field. I have 3 X's and the word apex on the other side of the field, right? So let's cut it down. Let's call the left side where the 3 defenders are. Let's call the left side. We'll call that the weak side. And then we'll call the right side the strong side. Put another way, guys, the left side will be your boundary. The right side will be your field side. All right. There are 3 circles on the right side. So 3 receivers. There's 1 circle on the left side. So 1 receiver, right? So let me escape out of this, guys. Don't worry. I'll maximize it again so you can see it. So Foothills, as I'm talking to you, if you got 3 receivers to one side and 1 receiver on another side, what do you think that set is? You think it's a 2x2 or 3x1?
It's a 3x1.
It's 3x1, right?
Yeah.
So let me get into a little bit about what this stuff means. So if I go into a 3x1, right? And let me go ahead and maximize the screen again, guys. Sorry. So if I go into a 3x1, all right.
Yes, sir.
Let's just say, I don't know if you guys can see some of it. So let me edit some of this. I'm going to put numbers up and I'm going to explain what the numbers mean and like what, kind of their importance to the topic, guys, because you kind of have to understand what those numbers mean and why they're important. So that way you'll have an idea of like, all right, I'm going to call this guy 3. I'm going to call this guy 2. I'm going to call this guy 1. All right, let me hit OK. I'm going to reshare, guys, all right? So, OK. Let me make the circles just a little bigger so that way you guys can actually see the numbers, I think, a little better. All right. So, all right. So now you see the 1, 2, and 3. Can you see that?
Yes.
Foothills? All right. So you have 3 guys here, okay? Your apex is known by another name. The apex is really known first to flat, F to F. If you guys look up cover 7, anytime you hear the word apex, they're talking about the F to F, okay? Which would be kind of like a slot defender, guys. That slot defender is normally referred to as like, it's normally like revert to 3. So it just basically means that unless something gets pushed, unless there's a push in the coverage assignment, he covers 3. And there's a lot of pushes on this. This is why communication is so big in cover 7. And then number 1 is normally with your corner, okay, your outside corner. And then he might have safety help, just depends on the coverage scheme and the communications of what happens here, okay? So let's just say that we know that the nickel corner, right, that X that's the closest to the apex is supposed to take 3. But let's say 3 releases on like a little drag route number out to the flats.
Okay.
Who takes them?
The outside corner.
No. Who's the first to flats?
Oh,
Apex.
got
Apex
you.
is always first to flats, right? So he would take 3. So since the apex is taking 3, that means that we're going to push the nickel, the X that's closest to apex, to the 2. Okay. He would cover 2, and then you'd have 1. So just depends on the communication in the principle of the coverage here. You know, you could have 2 on 1, or you could have your deep safety, you could have your nickel back on 2, and you could have your corner playing something that's called mod. So that's man on deep. So that could be an off coverage, right? Off coverage, man on deep, or he could play what's called meg, man everywhere he goes. Okay. What's that mean? He carries, right? He's going to carry man everywhere he goes. And then the other one would be cone. So let's say that the safety and that outside corner are both going to cover 1. That's called a cone. It means it's bracketed. It's a bracket coverage. That would make this X the robber. Okay. He's the robber, the safety up top. All right. Do you get the component of cover 7 already?
Somewhat. Not completely, but yeah, somewhat.
So it's tough because there's so much communication on cover 7. That's why I was trying, like, when people would ask me in comments about it, it's not something I can just respond to in a comment because there's just so much going on. Like, I named you 3 separate techniques on the corner alone, right? So there's different ways of doing this, right? So let's say I want to let's say that I'm going to take Darius Slay. And I'm going to put Darius Slay on the weak side of the field the whole game. No matter who the receiver is, I want him on the weak side of the game, and I want him man everywhere he goes, right? Just take that number 1 receiver, shut him down. And then on the weak side, I'm going to run cone. So I'm going to run a robber technique with the safety, and I'm going to have the corner. Maybe the corner might play, he might play some mod, or he might just be, maybe he's playing a man off and he's got some safety help, or maybe he's going to come down and press a little, you could do both ways there, right?
Yeah.
That's the complexity of cover 7. Cover 7 is still quarters coverage at its heart. You're still breaking the field up into quarters, right? But then you're also adding in the complexity of basically taking the field, cutting it in half. And then you're saying, we're going to run this coverage principle on this side of the field, this coverage principle on the other side of the field. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I do. So, so basically it's a combination of cover 4 and cover 3, right?
Yeah.
That's called cover 7.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. Exactly. It's kind of exactly what it is. It's almost like combining cover 4 and cover 3 together, right? What's up, Birdman 951 with the 4.99 super chat? Said great show, Gate City, white 80, white set. Keep it up, Fuego guys. Thanks, man. Appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, I still remember that one. I had some friends that kept asking me. They were like, "Yo," they kept asking me. They're like, "Steve, why do quarterbacks say 180, 180?" And I'm like, 180? What are you talking about? Like, they don't say 180. I'm like, no. Like, listen. And they're like playing a video clip of this guy, and he's saying white 80. White 80 set, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's saying white 80, not 180. That means turn around and face the other direction.
That's funny.
All right. So cover 7, the concept being because Gannon said, and I think this is where it came up on a Inside the Birds podcast.
Okay.
And I was like, oh boy, I knew this was going to rip Philadelphia apart once that got out there. And I was like, oh man, like, I don't know if they're going to run a lot of cover 7 here. I think it's just going to be cover 4, and there'll be at times they'll play the 7 technique. But yeah, like you said, you're going to have one side of the field where you're going to play a quarters principle, and on the other side of the field, you're going to play a cover 3 principle. That's just how it's going to work. You're going to divide it up, and that's how you're going to play. But you see what I'm saying? Like, these things don't actually exist. They're just alterations of base coverage packages. Yeah. But it's easy to mix them up. Now the question becomes the fit in the feel of the Eagles, and where do guys work out?
Right.
Because Josiah Scott, That's a match and mirror corner, in my opinion. He's a nickel who can match and mirror. You know, then I look at a guy like Avonte Maddox. That's a match and mirror corner. He's a nickel who can match and mirror. All right. He can play inside. He can play some safety too, to be fair to Avonte. He's got some skills at safety too. You know, then I look at outside. I'm like, man, Craig James isn't really an outside corner. The only other real outside corner that I feel confident in projecting right now, because I haven't seen the other guys play, he got burnt last year, and I liked him a lot. I made videos about him and Michael Jacquet, but Michael Jacquet's a young guy that needs a lot of, he needs a lot of work. Jalen, good point, man. Also, Dallas, former defensive coordinator, ran a lot of cover 7, and Doug had pretty good calls to counter it. Chris Richard. I think you're referring to Chris Richard. He did.
That is who he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got
it's it's going to be interesting because I look at the Eagles roster and I don't know that it's complete. I don't know it's complete in the secondary.
Right. At defensive, I mean, that corner, it can't be. It really can't be at this point. We have to get some help. Yeah. Quarterback too, we need it badly.
Yeah. So Jalen's saying, let's add pressure packages this now. Guys, let me go up and I'll pull up some comments while we're here. I'm sorry, guys. This was such a difficult concept to do. So it's kind of hard to explain all this stuff and read comments at the same time, guys. I'm going to take some time now. I'll go everyone's comments. Steven Joyce, what's good, my guy? Big Play Slay in the house, man. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Big Play?
In a minute. Yeah, you're right, Jalen. It's been a while since I did a live stream. Philly Girl 76. What's up? You got to let me know your uploading schedule. I'm gonna have to go look up your channel again so I can see what you've posted recently. I've missed quite a bit of them. I know you used to do all the live streams and stuff, Philly Girl. We got Jalen. What's up, Jalen? We got Vic 3. What's going on, Vic 3? Isaiah Smith coming in, asking about cover 2. So Jalen wants to know about pressure packages. We are going to go over pressure packages, but I'm going to do that in a separate video, Jalen, or else my wife will kill me, man. I'll be on here all night.
Mine will too. We can't do that. You guys will be losing 2 Eagles content creators.
Yeah. My guy Jay Milton from Jersey with the NC Central icon. He said, I made it here a little late. Go with the flow, Gate City. Go with the flow. All right, man. We got who else is in here? Oh, Jay Milton to the Nest Out West.
What's going on, man? Thank you for joining the live stream. We appreciate it.
Some of y'all were giving us guesses. Ramsey. Hey, Jalen, you and I are on the same wavelength about Ramsey. That's what I said too. Gilmore's a good guess. My guy Al Kabir, the analyst, stopped in. He said Gilmore would be his top-rated corner. I can see that. I still think Jalen Ramsey's a little bit more physically gifted, but yeah, Gilmore's very technically sound. Vic 3, going back to the throwback with Casey Hayward. A few years ago, Vic 3, I think you might have had a real good point there. You might have had an argument. Argument to make there.
Seeing that you said that Jalen Ramsey is so badly ranked as far as man-to-man coverage, I would assume that the Rams don't run a whole lot of man-to-man, especially when he's on the field. I'm sure he's on the field quite a bit, unless he's hurt or something like that. But I would assume that they don't run a whole lot of man then, right? I mean,
yeah. What's up? We even got some content, or we got some Cowboy fans jumping in here. Slay is top 10 easy. What's up, Lucio? How you doing, buddy?
Thank you for the love. That we appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to keep up with everybody. Proud Infidel jumping in. What's going on, man? Hey, guys, some of y'all, I owe you guys some comments. I got y'all. I need a little time, guys. It's been a crazy week, guys. I haven't had a lot of time to do comments on the videos, but I got y'all. I saw y'all's comments. So a lot of you guys were coming in, man. Y'all were stepping up saying, yo, I think this is zone. I think that's man. You guys were on it too. You guys were on it, man. Scooby-Doo. What's good, my guy?
What's going on, Scooby-Doo?
Larry Phillips with the thumbs up. What's good, Larry? Man, I missed a lot. It didn't seem like there was that many chats coming in, guys. I think I was so focused I didn't even notice. We got Philly Mike coming in, but I read your super chat, Mike.
Yep. Philly Mike was in the house. Thanks, Philly Mike.
Mike coming in with a video idea. Proud Infidel becoming a new member, man. I appreciate you, Proud Infidel.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, guys. I'm just going to read through this and we can talk a little bit. Philly Foothills coming in. I'm sorry. He's mentioning Philly Foothills. Philly's a podcast coming in. Talking about Foothills is in class right now.
Yep. Hey, who better to learn from? Who better to learn from, you guys? I mean, come on now. Gate City, we all know he's got the knowledge, so who better to learn from?
Birdman 951, what's good, my guy? Sharif Collins coming in, dropping a little knowledge himself, man. What's up, Sharif? Sharif said cover 7 is a split field coverage. Yes, sir. You're right. Meaning both sides of the defense could work independently of each other. That's 100% correct, Sharif.
So, I mean, is that just talking about? I mean, when we're talking about that, that's just the linebackers and the defensive backs, right? Not the defensive line, or is it split?
It's the back 7. It's the back 7.
Got you. Okay.
I mean, technically, defensive linemen could contribute. They could become a flat defender, a hook defender, like
right.
Things like that. But generally speaking, it's not really, you're not really referring to their roles normally in that situation. But there are a few disguised things you can do there. Yeah. My guy Kivo coming in. I'm sorry, man. I had you coming up and I pulled it right back down. My bad, man. I wonder how much could we give the Bears for Jalen Johnson? I don't know, but if it's not that much, I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. We don't want. I don't want to give up one of these first round picks for a guy. Definitely, unless it's somebody out of this world. But I don't know. Would you give up? Would you? I mean, if you were the GM, Gate City, would you get if Xavier Howard was? I mean, obviously he's holding out. Would you give up a first round for him?
It's a lot of money. A first round for Xavier Howard, maybe. I do think Xavier Howard has talent. He's clearly better than what we have on the roster. I mean, it's not even not even a debate.
Right.
Like, I mean, you can make a debate that Slay's a better technician and all that. But Xavier Howard's probably a little bit more physically gifted. But in terms of the number, anyone else on the roster, like, it's not even close. Like, Xavier Howard's far above him.
And future thinking,
but Xavier Howard's very expensive, man. That's a really expensive contract. I'm not even too sure. They would have to they'd have to move some pieces. We would have to move some pieces.
Yeah.
Hurts to be more specific.
Yeah, and Lane would probably have to maybe restructure his deal too.
Yeah. I was still shocked when they said that they didn't need Lane to restructure. Like, they must have looked at the cap differently to me.
Right.
My guy, Philly Fresh. Yo, Dat, what's good, man? How you doing, Fresh?
The general's in the house. What's going on, sir? Big shout out to you.
Natiro says the offense also has freedom. The receivers do this year. Natiro, the receivers. The receivers will have the ability to basically option routes. So there's going to have to be a lot of timing built between the quarterback and the receivers. You got to have to really be on the same page. And that means that they have to see the coverage in the same way and have the same ideas about where the ball should go. Yeah. So if they're in unison with one another, it'll be special. Got to be cohesive there, though.
If not, it can be dangerous, right? Obviously.
Yeah. Jalen, yeah, you're right. He said, to me, the coverages are simple, but the rules of zone coverage is the real confusing part. Yeah, exactly. You guys remember I had that saying about Sidney Jones. I said, if you put Sidney Jones in a man coverage system, I think he's one of the better corners, not just on the Eagles. I thought he was pretty good within the league in man coverage reps. But, man, I had that saying. I said, when Sidney Jones is thinking, Sidney Jones is stinking. He was not ready to play zone coverage yet, man. It just so much goes into that. You have to, like, it has to be instinct. It just has to be pure instinct. And it's sad because I still feel like Sidney Jones is one of those guys that the true talent level will probably never be realized. And I do think that, like, I looked at his film in college, guys. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't concerned about the knee injury or the Achilles. I'm sorry, his Achilles injuries, but at the same time, man, I also understood how talented that kid was. I saw his film too. I was like, man, that guy's, he understands how to stay in the hip pocket of a receiver. He gets what it means to stay in phase and to make a play on the ball. It's just not, it's a disappointing one, man. that one's always going to haunt me a little bit.
It is, because when we got him at the beginning of the second round, like we did, I thought we got a steal. I thought he was going to bounce back, and I was hoping he was going to be a cornerstone of, pun intended, definitely of our defense going forward for years. But it just didn't work out that way. So that one's a tough swallow, definitely, because he's even. I mean, he showed, in spurts, he showed that it wasn't necessarily him. Maybe it was him needing more time to get his body fully right from that Achilles and everything like that. But he's shown that he's got talent and he's still able to play at this level. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, what we're going to do next week, and I'll see if Foothills has time. We'll try to do another live stream, and we'll do, because Jalen's like, hey, man, you can't do coverage without the pressure packages, man. You got to give us the pressure packages. Can't just do coverage, man. It goes both ways. I got you, Jalen. We'll do some pressure stuff next week. I'll bring in. I'll talk about diamond fronts. I'll talk about over and under fronts. We'll go over different packages. We'll go over what it means for what a dog blitz is, what all that stuff means, guys. We'll go over all that stuff next week, guys.
Hey, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Hey, Mike's over here trying to executive produce the show.
Now that the Sixers are out,
Yeah.
Mike's got more time in his hands. So hey, he's got
that loss, man. Good God, dude.
I know. Bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, Simmons he's got to go. We got to get another legit star next to Embiid. We do. Or his talent's going to waste away in Philly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad, man. It's sad. That's. I actually felt like we were right there, man.
When it comes to the NBA, born and raised in Sacramento, the Kings will always be first in my heart, but I definitely always will have love for the 76ers. I have always had my eye on them for a long, long time, and I am, a fan. So it hurts. It definitely does to go out again, early in the playoffs. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. If you guys want to ask any questions, go ahead. We got a few more minutes. I don't want to hold Foothills up too long, and my wife's about to kill me too. I'm about to get shanked. But I'll talk for a few minutes, guys, about route concepts because look, it's not like the offense doesn't play the defense too. And what offenses will do a lot of times is they'll try to high-low guys, right? So just think of something because we've already talked a lot about sail routes and sail concepts, things like that. So let's talk about another zone beater. Do you guys know what a smash route is? You know what that is?
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that concept before myself.
Stick figures with Gate City. All right. So smash concept. All right.
Let's do it.
Basically, when you're going to work a corner route. Normally it's a corner route, but it's a vertical route. So you're going to work a corner route off of like a hitch or a curl. Okay. So let's say you got a safety here, corner here. So we'll say cornerback. We'll say safety. Okay.
I used to be a tight end in high school. So when you say hitch curl, I know what you're talking about.
All right. See that beautiful illustration, guys? Only the highest quality here. Corner route coming off of a hitch or a curl, guys. All right. You're high-low. You're going to high-low the corner. Okay. You're trying to get that flat defender to either decide to go play that 10, 12-yard zone area or come down and stop that. Okay. So if he goes out there and he plays the corner route, which is that's really the smash route, if you will. If he plays that route, then you're going to hit that hitch or that curl route. But if he plays hitch or the curl route, then you got a fairly deep, progressing, play down the field, right? That's some of the things offenses will do against these zone coverages. Versus man coverages, you'll hear a lot of things like, because, we're talking about spread concept, guys. Kansas City had I can't remember the name of that play, but Kansas City had that play where they're running, it's like they do like a skinny post, a corner, and it's like an out route. They do like one of these numbers here. It's like, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's like a skinny post.
Yeah, I can see it now.
They do that a lot. These are spread concepts, so they're attacking different levels of the field to try to spread. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that play, guys. I got to look it up again. It's some of this stuff slips my mind over time, guys. But there's different variations to take advantage of these type of things. Like, we'll see like how Gannon does it and like how these guys react, right? Because that's the thing is that it's one thing to be physically limited. It's another thing to be physically limited and not have a great grasp of how to defend certain route concepts. That's what we have to see. Like, you can't do anything about physically limited. There's nothing that Rich Gannon, that would be great. There's nothing that Jonathan Gannon can do to make, any, Josiah Scott taller, to make Monte Maddox. There's nothing he can do there. He can make sure they understand the route concepts and what they're trying to do to leverage you, right? Making sure like, hey, if you see this, hey, maybe it's better to just give up that hitch route and have everyone close down and get to that. Don't give up a 15, 20-yarder on a corner.
Right. Yeah.
It's things like that, making sure that they have the defense in mind and these guys understand what other teams are trying to do. So also we need to talk about tendencies, players with designated roles and leverages. We'll get in a little bit of that because I think I know exactly who you're alluding to. So there's a subset of guys, I should say, but Kerrigan being the biggest name who will have a very specific role. But we could talk about the role of the nose, We can talk, Jalen, because I do think that my understanding is how much that argument ensued in the third round. And we found out later it really didn't have to do with the cornerback. It had to do with the nose tackle they wanted. So we'll get into that. We can definitely get into the role that the nose plays in an under front. We can get into stuff like that. We can talk about what makes something an over versus an under and how the 3 technique plays into that. We'll get into all that, Jalen. Jalen, if you want, we can even have you on to kind of talk a little bit about it. I know you play defensive line. Never in my life have I ever been confused with a defensive lineman. So if you want to talk a little bit, Jalen, I'll get you on next week. You can come out with me and Philly Foothills, and we'll talk a little D line there. We'll talk about some of the roles that fit. We can talk about how we think some of these guys are going to actually be used. There's a couple of them that interest me, just kind of, leading into our conversation next week, just to kind of round out. I would say that one of the ones that strikes me as being interesting, right, is Patrick Johnson, Jannard Avery, and then Joe Osman. Because we know Kerrigan will be on the roster, but all those guys are not really traditional defensive ends. They're not really traditional 5 techs. They're all kind of rush linebackers. And it seems like we might have like kind of really led deep into that this year. Like I really thought we were going to see 30 fronts, because I was like, man, if you really look at the roster, we have a lot of the pieces to kind of run a 30 front right now, but it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. It looks like we're just going to play an under. We're going to play a 43 under, but it'll be interesting, man.
When you say 30 front, explain to me what you mean when you say that.
A 30 front means 34, 3 down linemen. 3 down linemen versus like 4 down linemen. So 40 front will be 4 down linemen, and 30 front will be 3 down linemen.
Okay.
I thought we were going to see some 3 down line stuff, but it doesn't look like. It looks like it looks like they pretty much dispelled that myth and said that it's going to be a 43 under, which it mimics a 52. 3 under kind of mimics a 52 front. So think of the old Bears.
I mean, we kind of have the personnel. I mean, I don't know how much Jonathan Gannon's going to be jumping into it, but they could possibly switch up a little bit here and there too, couldn't they? I mean, I know that's a big switch, but we have some guys who can be that more of a coverage or more of a rush linebacker, or guys that can put their hand in the dirt. So, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what JG, how deep he's willing to go into the trick bag this year, especially this first year, and with some of these younger guys. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Isaiah, I haven't looked at Ahmad Gardner. I mean, I'm still going to, I'm going to do some videos over the summer, starting kind of scouting some of these guys, but I haven't really pulled film on them yet. I don't really like to weigh in on guys until I see at least 3 to 4 games, just because it's really hard to get a feel for a guy without seeing 3 or 4 of his games.
Yeah, that next year's draft's going to be, I'm going to be on pins and needles, that especially with those first picks, because as we've known, how he's starting to show that he doesn't really super highly value. I know we're limited on money and things like that right now, but I don't know if you've seen the rumors that I think Eagles Champ 1 found the rumor, and then he gave it to Joey Shakes, and Joey Shakes made a video about the Eagles only wanting to pay Steven Nelson $3 million a year. I mean, to me, he needs to make more than that. I mean, that's just a scary trend. I mean, I hope we're not starting to go the way we've been treating the linebacker position for years and not really valuing it. And it's scary.
I kept trying to tell people, I made the video about Steven Nelson, and look, right now, Steven Nelson would clearly be the second best corner on this team, and it's, he's not. I don't think he's that far off of Slay. I would still value Slay over Steven Nelson. Yeah. But, I kept saying that Steven Nelson feels like a number 2 corner to me. And the money can get really, really tricky with the guy that wants to be paid like a number 1. But in reality, he's more of a number 2.
Right.
And that's what I kept saying is that, like, if we're talking, and that's a little low. If they're saying $3 million, that's a lot lower than I thought. I was saying anything 6 or under, okay. I can live with that. A fair compensation for the type of player he is. If he started climbing up to the $8 million or so range he was talking about, I was like, ooh, like,
yeah,
I know that, and it's tough because the market keeps going up. If you look at what like Slay got paid, if you look at what Xavier Howard got paid, if you look at the guy that left Dallas, Byron, what he got paid.
Yeah,
Byron Jones. Yeah, what he got paid last. Like the market keeps going up, so it's kind of hard to say like, oh, like 8 million's number one corner money now, because it's kind of not anymore. But
it's true. It's true.
It's tough, man. This is a tough situation.
It is, and that's probably a big part of the reason why he hasn't been signed yet, because he's probably asking for a lot of money. Maybe a little bit more than he should be paid, like you said, because he's more like a CB2. So
yeah,
yeah. But I want to make sure that that you send a big shout out to the missus for letting you do the live stream today, because I really appreciated the time and the education, not just for me, but like I said, for anybody out there who's interested in learning more about coverages and things like that. So
yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Hyder. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right, guys, we appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. We will be back next week. We're going to talk a little bit about the pass rush. If you guys get to the video later and you have some questions, I'll just go over the base coverages again, right? What they call the shell coverages: cover 0, cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. Okay. Now, to break them up real quick as we jump off, guys, man coverages: cover 0, cover 1, right? Now, you can mix things in. You can be in a zone coverage, like a cover 3, and utilize a lot of man coverage principles on the outside. Kind of carry that guy down the field in the man almost concept. But you're still covering a third of the field in the zone, basically. Your zone is that third of the field, but you're going to pretty much utilize man. Those things aren't like completely gone, right? Then you look at your zone coverages, guys, and you're getting into things like cover 3. You got cover 2. You got cover 4. And then you got, crazy things like, cover 5, which is cover 2, man under. Offensively, they call it cover 5. Defensively, I've only heard it called as cover 2, man under, right? Okay. Then you get something like cover 6, right? Cover 6 is, once again, we're talking about split field. So on one side of the field, you're playing cover 2 principles. On the other side of the field, you're playing cover 4 principles. So you got quarters on one side of the field, and then you got basically a cover 2 principle on the other side of the field. So, that's a mixed coverage, if you will. And then if you go into something like cover 7, we kind of talked about that earlier. Cover 7 is very complex. It's been brought into the league to stop the advancement of spread offenses. The last 3 Super Bowl winning teams have utilized a ton of cover 7 in the Super Bowl. Now let's keep in mind, 2 of those 3 teams were the Kansas City Chiefs offense. That's why. So I mean, right. Context to it, guys. I'm not going to sit here and act like the context is there, guys. Absolutely. But cover 7, it's kind of a mixture of like, you could call it kind of like an idea of like, okay, one side of the field, you're going to kind of almost play a cover 3 concept. On the other side of the field, you're going to almost play a cover 4 concept. It's a little more than that, guys. Like, there's a whole lot of principles to it. It's not quite as simple as that one. Cover 7 is the most difficult coverage to understand. It's the easiest one to point out when you have a 3 wide receiver set, because then you're just basically looking at finding out who's your apex, who's your first to the flat, who's got the responsibility of the 3. So basically, who reverts to 3, and then who's the corner, and what's the technique they're playing on the 1. That's how it's the easiest way to identify cover 7, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much, guys. Man, it's always fun coming in and talking football with y'all, and I will see you guys on the next video. Guys, don't forget, next week, I'll post it in the community comments ahead of time. I'll work out some stuff with Philly Foothills, and we'll get a schedule down. I'll even work with Mike, and we'll see if we can't do a question and answer segment with some prizes or something. We'll figure something out. We'll get our executive producer, Philly Mike, on it. All right, guys, we appreciate y'all, man. We'll see y'all on the next video. Now the weird part of ending the broadcast and waiting, guys.